So there's just one thing that we can't stop talking about. It's video games.
Vidder games?
Vidger games. Old Vidger games. Nintendo games.
Them Nintendo tapes.
The classic 8-bit Nintendo. It's something that all of us love so much and we can't stop talking about. And there's so many games in the library that have been talked about, but there's still plenty that have not. So I brought Rob back on.
Yay!
Because Rob has much expertise to share when it comes to Nintendo. So today we're going to talk about 3 games each that are way underrated, that are a ton of fun, and also will not break your wallet. I specifically said, don't pick games that are expensive. Let's try to not go over like that $15 to $20 mark. So these are 6 games that we got here for you guys that are super fun and super affordable. So first one that I want to start off with, I love ninjas. I love Wrath of the Black Manta. This was a game that I used to rent all the time, and this is totally inspired by Rolling Thunder and Shinobi. Definitely, as soon as you start it up, if you played Shinobi, you will see that it is, because it's a side-scroller, and you could jump. You ever played it before?
Yes.
You have played it. All right. You could jump on 2 different levels. Ninjas were very popular at the time, so obviously Black Manta is a ninja. There's a basic story of kids have been kidnapped, and you have to rescue them. So aside from it being a side-scroller and just throwing shurikens at enemies, you can actually grab enemies and interrogate them to find where these kidnapped kids were throughout the level, which you have to do to beat the
and they
level.
all look the same.
Yeah.
Every single one of them looks exactly the same.
They kind of look...
Yeah, I'm gonna knock you on the toxic.
Yeah, exactly. They have that kind of like 50s like thug vibe, but they always reminded me of Larry from the Three Stooges if he had hair.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Totally, with like a real hook nose. So he's like kind of like Larry from the Three Stooges meets like Jack Nicholson's Joker, I guess.
A little bit.
Yeah, merge the two together. Those are the guys that you're fighting over and over. But aside from just the side-scroller, there's doors and stuff that enemies will come out of, and you can also go in those doors, and hopefully you'll find one of the kids that are kidnapped in there. But usually you'll just have to fight off a bunch of enemies, but usually when you do, you get a health refill, and you are going to need that because you only start out with about 3 hits, and you can fill up your life to get about 7. This game does get pretty difficult. There are about 5 different areas to the game, so aside from the side-scroller, I know later on in the game, I do remember getting to a part where it was like a top-down shooter, and then at the end of the game you're going through a tower and it goes into a first-person mode. So Taito, they tried to do a lot with this game. I wouldn't say that it is a top-tier incredible game, but it is very solid. I'd say this game probably goes for only around, I don't know, $5. This is a game you probably see everywhere, and if this sounds awesome to you, you should totally pick this one up.
Yep, definitely. They have such like big moments in there. I mean, they needed maybe a couple more months of polish on that game.
No, I would say absolutely.
A little bit more polish, but then you get these ridiculous big guys like Tiny.
Yeah,
which is the first boss.
He's huge.
He's one of the biggest NES bosses that I've seen in a game.
That's very true. Tiny is fucking huge. He's a very easy boss. All he does is jump back and forth, and bricks will fall on your head. So all you gotta do is move and just hit him in the head with a shuriken. Super easy boss, but still very impressive. The graphics are really good for the game too.
Alright, we're gonna start off, as I pull it out of the sleeve, we have SNK's Alpha Mission. So I finally bought this game not too long ago. I've seen it around, but I've always seen the label really janky, so I held off on it for a little while.
Well, that is a really clean label.
This is very clean, very nice, so I finally decided to pick it up, and lo and behold, it is a lovely top-down shooter.
It is.
Out in space. It's got a vibe of Blade Eagle 3D on Master System, also mixed with a little bit of what was the one? Astro Warriors.
I would say Astro Warrior. Life Force. Life Force too.
A little bit of there. So this plays very well. It is, since it's an early NES game, it's got a rudimentary graphics and sound to it, but it's got a great power-up system. It feels solid to play. There's nothing really, janky about it where the gameplay doesn't feel right. It's solid controls.
Yep, solid gameplay.
So, it's fun, so if you want to have something that's nice, simpler, like a very simple gun hack of sorts.
Oh God!
You can see where it goes from Alpha Mission all the way up to gun hack in terms of how much power we're able to eventually pop out of the NES.
Absolutely. A lot of this game kind of set the groundwork for top-down shooters that are even used today. If one button shoots, the other one drops bombs. different power-ups
Yep.
to pick up, the way the enemies kind of come at you in a wave, and if you destroy them all, do they leave a power-up? Usually that's how it goes. You destroy the 8 guys.
It's
in a row.
mostly the stuff that you bomb in the levels.
Okay.
That's usually where most of the power-ups came from, such as your speed up, your weapon enhancements, that kind of stuff.
Extra lives and whatnot.
Yep, all the best stuff.
Yeah. So Alpha Mission is what, a few bucks, probably. I see it everywhere.
A
so
few
again,
bucks. It's an SNK game, so it's a little bit higher than a $5 game, but it's not out of the league
no,
of
not at all.
being unreasonable.
No, and it's a game at almost every convention that I see.
Yeah.
You're going to go through the bins of the NES games on the table that a million vendors have. Alpha Mission is one in there that I see all the time. So if it sounds good to you, definitely pick that one up. All right, so I guess if we're going to stick with SNK,
Yeah.
we got to stick with SNK. We got to stick with frickin' Guerrilla War. I fucking love
It's a good
Guerrilla
one.
War.
It's
It
a
is
good
so
game.
much fun. It is so much fun. And it is a goddamn arcade port at its finest. So it is also a top-down shooter. I would compare this to Commando and Akari Warriors. And everybody always talks about like Akari Warriors from like this nostalgic standpoint. Guys, Akari Warriors fucking sucks.
They both are a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, Akari,
just to say the least.
Just to say, yeah, that's being nice. Akari Warriors is absolutely terrible. Isn't it like ABBA or something? You have to. I remember hitting
something
that,
like that. Yeah.
And you have to keep continuing. And you'll sometimes spawn in walls. This game does not have any of those problems, though.
Yep.
So it is very much the same type of thing. Top down, you're going through the jungle, and you're just shooting guys and rescuing hostages. But the controls in this are really solid, really tight. The action is just frantic as hell. And there's barely any slowdown for this game, too, of just wave after wave of enemies, and you have infinite bullets, infinite grenades, and you can just go nuts killing these guys. You can jump in tanks to blow up other tanks, to blow up helicopters, to shoot other guys. The only thing, we'll play it later, the only thing that you got to be careful of are the hostages that are tied up. So if you collect those, you get 1,000 points. If you accidentally kill one of them, you lose 500 points. And you want to collect points to get those precious, precious extra lives. Because one hit in this game, and you are fucking dead. Every enemy is killed in one hit, and so are you. So this game is not easy by any means. The bullets do move a little bit slower, so once you get used to the controls, you move pretty quick, so you can dodge and avoid. So you really feel like, you know, that John Matrix in Commando or Rambo First Blood Part 2, like going through the jungle, throwing grenades and blowing up sandbags.
Simulate all
guys.
your wartime fantasies.
Absolutely.
And just Guerrilla War.
Just Guerrilla War. SNK did a lot of that, like this, POW. They did a lot of, 80s, action movie war, jungle war style
I'm
games.
surprised a lot of these SNK games early on did not get as much recognition.
No, they didn't.
As they do, so I'm glad we're able to go back and pick a couple of these gems.
I'm really glad that we actually both picked, because we didn't really talk about this before.
Yeah, we're just like, bring a couple games over.
I was like, we're going to record today. Like, all right, I'm going to pick out 3 NES games, and you sent me like 6. I was like, just pick 3 of those, and it happened to be another, Alpha Mission and SNK. Yeah. So these are, this is another one from '87. It's an earlier one. The graphics look like an early NES game, but it is so much fun. Again, this game is cheap. I see it everywhere. You like top-down shooters and just frantic, fun action games. This game never gets old. Definitely pick this one up. And we'll play it later. We'll have a beer and we're going to play some goddamn Guerrilla War.
Alright, so I have another really fun one that I want to be able to do.
I don't know much. I know this game is kind of funny.
It's funny.
Yeah.
And I personally love it just because I have a vendetta with my brother on playing this game and playing a few of the games in here, but that is Caveman Games.
Another one I see
on the
everywhere.
NES. Yes, I've seen this pretty much everywhere. It's not a super expensive game, but it's a lot of fun. So it's essentially like your athletic world, your like any of these like variety sports games,
like
even
California games,
Crash
the Boy Street
games.
Challenge.
Yep,
Yeah,
all of those. Think of this, but with caveman characters. So they have a couple of games such as trying to pole vault over like a T-Rex's head and not get eaten.
So you gotta like run and pole vault.
Yeah, there's the saber run. You have a saber-toothed tiger that's behind you, and you're trying to run. And it's great because it's split screen, and you essentially run up to the guy who's in front of you. So if you're player 1, player 2, and you're able to toss him back.
Oh, so you can greet, you can fuck with the other player and
Yes.
greet them?
Yeah.
Like,
So you
toss
can
into the
dick over
tigers.
your friends at the exact last second
We'll
if you
play this
want
later. We
to.
gotta play this.
And you can, then at the end of it, you climb up a tree. And then there's my personal favorite, which is the fire making. So essentially,
Right.
you're just bashing A and B at the same time, but you're able to, essentially, every once in a while, use a big stick and just plunk your guy on the head to try and get ahead of him. So it's defense and also I think this had several other releases, probably on a couple other computer consoles, because I can't
It
imagine
seems like
just
it would
coming
be
out on the
this
NES.
Data East. Yeah,
Data East has a lot of ports on.
Yeah, they did a lot of
different
ports on a lot of
consoles.
different consoles and stuff. Yes, they did. This sounds like a lot of fun.
That's right.
So-
It's one of these games that I think everybody at one point has played, and they just forget about until I remember that game. I love that.
Maybe that's what it was that I played it at a friend's house back in the day. So again, I see this game everywhere. So it goes for pretty cheap.
It goes for pretty
Right.
cheap, I believe. So yeah, definitely.
This is a good party
Caveman
game.
Games. Pick it up.
It's a good party game. You guys have friends over, get a couple of beers, and
Make
smack a
fire.
human back and forth and
Yeah,
make fire.
exactly.
All right, so this last one, I had to go with a shooter also. This is a game that I have a ton of nostalgic attachment for. Now, it originally was an arcade port, and the first time I played it was on the Atari 2600, but the NES version just took this game and just turned it up to the umpteenth degree, and it's very, very much its own thing, and that's Gyrus. This is another game that you probably see everywhere. Konami put it out under the Ultra title, so a lot of these seem to be overlooked. The Ultra games are like Konami's B-rate games. They're not very good. Gyrus is awesome. So, for the gameplay, it's not a top-down shooter. It's not a side-scrolling shooter. It is a circular shooter, as in you go around in a circle as you are flying into the middle of the screen, and the enemies will come out and fly in patterns to shoot at you. So you start out in this little dinky ship, and it's always going to be one-hit kill. But you can upgrade. You can get these little pellets that will appear that you destroy, and it will upgrade your ship so you can have two. You can fire 2 pellets out, or you can get other ones where you can fire like a big bomb that looks like a friggin' comet that comes out. So each level is each planet in the solar system, and it always bothered me that the first planet is Neptune and the second one is Pluto. And I know Neptune and Pluto, sometimes their orbits would change, so Neptune would be the last one. But on the map, Pluto is the bigger planet than Neptune, and that always pissed me the fuck off. It always friggin' annoyed me. But aside from that, this game rules. For each planet that you go through, there's like 3 different levels, I guess. So the first one is just normal, the enemies coming out at you. The second one, enemies come out at you, but there are these 4 little bases in the middle, and you have to destroy those to advance to the next one. And the enemies will fly around, and if you miss any of them, they'll fly out into the center into these bases and will eventually come out at you. And there's other enemies that come at you too. There's like amoebas, there's rocks, there's other meteors that split into other pieces. And as you go through the game, there are way more enemies that will come at you, and they get very powerful, and it gets very difficult. And the third area that you go to in each one, when you get to that, boss at the end. All these bosses are very different. They range from space stations to giant organic beings that will just try to absolutely destroy you. So this game is very long. 9 planets plus the sun, so that's 10 altogether, times 3. 30 levels that you got right there. 30 levels, 10 bosses. I have beaten this game before. It is very difficult, but it is so much fun. So, and at the end of each level too, you get a bonus round also, so you can get 1-ups, you can power up your ship. So as difficult as this game is, it is fair. And again, this is very easy to find, even though it's difficult. If this sounds awesome to you,
Yes, I've been seeing it every show as well.
Every single show, you see multiple copies of this. I have my loose one here. And in there, it's in the corner over there, I have my factory sealed copy because I like Gyrus so much. So this is one, like I said, that I grew up with. I have a huge nostalgic attachment for. And it's probably only a $5 game and one of the best shooters on the system. So if you like shooters, again, pick it up.
So for the last game that I got,
I was impressed. I was impressed.
This is the first time that you got to see it in person. And you got to see it moving.
I know I've seen reviews of this online from like way back in the day, and it's a fucking Camerica game, so it's like you think it's a joke.
The ultimate stuntman.
I know, you look at that.
Yeah, this
and
is
you
great.
laugh.
It's an unlicensed game for Nintendo. Like, it even has the little switch in the back.
If A doesn't work, try B.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What essentially did to kind of get around the copyright in the Nintendo
lockout chip.
Yeah, it essentially like quickly like shorts out the the lockout chip inside the Nintendo to get it to work.
Okay.
So we put it in your top loader, booted right up.
Yeah,
no
works
problems.
great in the top. Worked perfectly in the top loader.
Yeah, this is actually I think I was holding it upside down where there's like Ultimate Stuntman.
Wait, the label's upside down?
Yeah, that's the thing. I keep forgetting about that because
fucking America, man.
Yeah,
so,
sorry about that. Here.
Wait, so he looks like Dolph Lundgren on there, but then in the title screen, he looks like a cross between like Wolverine and the Punisher.
Yeah.
The graphics are very impressive.
The graphics are impressive. They have like cinematic like scenes cutscenes at the beginning, like big gigantic newspaper that says kidnapped. And we have to save Dr.
Jennifer Aykroyd. Jennifer Aykroyd. No relation to Dan.
Yeah. And the Ultimate Stuntman is like getting the call from the boss or whatever it is, and he's just like there, like smoking a big cigarette, just lighting one up. And at the beginning, what do we think that he looks like? He looks like a mix between Wolverine and
as I just said, Wolverine and Punisher.
Oh my gosh, it's a trip. But it's
the gameplay.
The gameplay is
really
great.
Cool.
It starts now as a top-down driving game, kind of like similar to Spy Hunter, just like really amped up to the nth degree with just wacky stuff running everywhere.
But the graphics are way better. There's like perspective. It's like a hovercraft you're driving. There's perspective to it. So
yeah, there's perspective to it. The music gets you all amped up.
Yeah,
there's stuff flying at you and speed. It's got surprisingly a good amount of speed and stuff with no blinking or anything that I noticed on it.
No slowdown.
No slowdown. The second batch of levels, you have a side-scroller platformer where you could jump insanely high.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah, you get your regular jump, which is pretty high, and then the super jump, which is almost like the height of the screen. It was crazy.
And you collect a certain amount of keys, proceed to the next level, which is the Ultimate Stuntman climbing the side of a building.
Yeah, doing some Spider-Man stuff. I found that very interesting, though, if you want to explain how that
so the mechanics of that level is essentially you're using the directional pad to climb the building, and you have enemies coming down all over the place. So if you hit A or B to shoot, you're then able to take control using the D-pad and shooting to shoot down the enemies. It's a little wonky at first,
but it's hard to explain.
It's interesting.
So like you're climbing the building, but there's a target reticle you can run, so you hold down a button and use that. So it's essentially like Stuntman's climbing the building, then you, the player, are like across the street in a building, shooting the enemies down so he can climb the building. It's kind of meta.
I want to say, remember Bart's Nightmare?
Oh, I don't want to.
There's the part where you're Bartzilla and you're climbing up the building. It's kind of like that.
All right.
So it has a feel to that.
It reminded me of, you ever play Spider-Man Maximum Carnage?
Yes.
You're climbing the building? Yeah, it looked like that.
It's probably a better one there. But yes, Ultimate Stuntman, I don't want to say it's terribly expensive. It's harder to see. I don't see this very often.
More often than not, I see them.
Yeah,
at shows,
but mostly because the top of it has no discernible casing or cover or whatnot, and there's so many unlicensed games that have the same kind of topping.
Yeah, it's usually it's like Quattro Sports or something like that.
Yeah, like all those Quattro games.
All the American games have that look.
Yeah.
But this game, it's very ambitious of, you know, Spy Hunter style levels and then side-scrolling shooters and then you're climbing buildings. So you said it gets repetitive.
It does get repetitive because the levels that I showed you, it's, this will pump you up for about 15 minutes to a half hour, but as you keep getting into it, you're playing the same levels over and over again. Just on slightly more...
So the replay value really wouldn't be there.
I've never beaten this game just because it gets so like, okay, this is level 5. I'm playing the same 3 levels over and over again.
Yep.
So it's definitely good to have in there, pop in, show some friends, and seeing what the Camerica guys were able to do.
It was pretty amazing. The perspective and the graphics of this game were very impressive.
It's a good novelty.
All right, so those were our 6 games. 6 pretty, fairly common, underrated Nintendo games that, won't break your wallet and are a ton of fun to play. So, you should totally go pick those up if they sound like fun to play. Also, tell us in the comments below, what are some other games that are around that price point that we should check out that everybody should know about? Please, let us know.
I'm still building up my NES collection, so I need some recommendations.
Yes.
Again, to the point where I can either get some lower tier, really fun ones, or spend a lot of money for absolute garbage. And I kind of want to have something a little bit more fun.
The gun neck that's in the case over there. You're not getting a gun neck.
Why not? Why do I need that? I have Alpha Mission.
I know, you got Alpha Mission.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, we're keeping it pixelated. Don't do it for me to tell you about the games. Do it for Rob.
Do it for me.
Squarepainter, Squarepainter. Here's the my pixel heights. It's a retro masterpiece. Earthbound's his favorite game. He's original on the scene. He's a Squarepainter.